well, and Councillor Adair, that she online with Councillor probably join us later. So the first item is to approve the minutes and sign the correct record the minutes of the meeting of the Executive Committee held on the 8th of February 2024. Do I have any comments about accuracy? No, can I sign the record, the minutes of the true record of the meeting? Very much. You know, matters arising from the previous meeting, minutes EX 44, 7 Valley Fire Control Service contracts. The member asked about retrospective approval and if this was an accepted process. The Assistant Chief Fire Officer advised that usually contracts were authorised in advance. With this agreement, the timings did not line up. It was going to be something to be looked at in the future. If the chairman he would have reported that it will be on the agenda for a future joint committee with members workshop of the joint committee. And so there's a meeting of that said committee on Monday. Now moving on to item 4 of the agenda, disclosure of interest. Members to declare any disclosure of pecuniary interests they may have in any matters to be considered which are not entered onto the authorities register. Opposite to disclose any interest they may have in any contract to be considered. Anyone wishes to declare any interest. Yep. Item 5 to receive any question in accordance with Standing Order SOA7. Casey, have you received any questions?
None, Chairman.
Thank you. Right, item 5, the gender pay gap. Councillor Shelley would have introduced it as you've been here, but this is a drop report we get each year, so I'm going to hand it straight over to Faye to present the report and start the discussion. Thanks, Faye.
Morning, everybody. Yeah. Morning. Let's go again. So the gender pay gap report is presented today with a recommendation for the content of the report being noted and approved for submission to the government's website as per reporting requirements in March. As an organisation, the authority has a duty to carry out gender pay gap reporting and publish 6 pieces of prescribed data about the pay and bonuses of male and female employees on an annual basis by the 30th of March. The snapshot date for the public sector employees is March each year, and the data presented in this report, as detailed in Appendix 1, is based on data as at the 31st of March 2023. The gender pay gap shows the difference between the average earnings of males compared to females, irrespective of role or seniority. It examines the difference in the average pay gap expressed as a percentage of male earnings. It is important to note that the gender pay gap is not unlawful. The presence of a gender pay gap does not mean the authority is discriminating against groups of individuals. The gender pay gap is a reflection of a workforce profile at a specific time, i.e. the snapshot date. In comparison, equal pay is a legal obligation and about unequal reward for male and females carrying out the same job, similar job or work of equal value, as set out in the Equality Act 2010. Organisations can have a gender pay gap without breaching equal pay provisions, and the authority's gender pay gap is not because of any equal pay issues. The gender pay gap report is detailed in Appendix 1, details the gender pay gap as at 31st of March 2023. The mean gender pay gap has decreased again in 2023 and is the lowest pay gap since first reporting in 2017, which is positive. For 2023, the mean average gender pay gap has decreased from 13.4% to 11.8%. The median, which is the midpoint gender pay gap, has also decreased from 11.7% to 8.46%. The extent to which females are represented within lower paid roles is the main driving force behind the gender pay gap. With the appointment of Louise Harrison as the authority's Chief Fire Officer, it will be interesting to see how much the gender pay gap reduces at its next snapshot date, the 31st of March 2024. In 2023, the ethnicity pay gap data has also been reported. Interestingly, the ethnicity pay gap is similar to the gender pay gap. 2023, the mean ethnicity pay gap is 11.9%, and the median gender pay gap is 7.59%. With regards to the ethnicity pay gap, due to the requirement to protect confidentiality, different ethnic groups have been combined, and for 2023, the categories include white British, other ethnic backgrounds, and not known. Whilst it's acknowledged having fewer categories masks the variations between ethnic groups and provides pay gap data comparing the earnings of ethnic minority employees as the percentage of all white British employees, using the 5 category breakdown as defined in the 2021 Census of England and Wales, would result in many of the categories with insufficient numbers to be able to report the data. Unfortunately, it is difficult to compare our ethnicity pay gap data to other fire services unless the categories used are the same. However, we will be able to compare our data year on year as we continue reporting. Through positive action and community engagement, we will engage, encourage and support those from underrepresented groups and seeing the fire service as an employer of choice in the hope of lowering the pay gap. With regards to benchmark data, as published on the government's website, provides additional comparison data across fire services. This is as detailed in Appendix 2. Benchmark data demonstrates widely different mean and median gender pay gap within the same sector for the 2023 reporting period. It is very difficult to understand how other fire services arrived at their gender pay gap data without all the background data, and many fire services do not publish reports alongside their data. We can only be certain on our own data. Additional comparison data. So for this year, we thought it'd be interesting to look at the gender pay gap data between operational and support services employees to see what data this produced. I was quite surprised by what this showed. The assumption has been that the gender pay gap is largely driven by the underrepresentation of females in operational roles, which there is, given that only 6% of the operational workforce is female. However, despite a larger representation of females in support services roles, at 56%, gender disparity is greater within this group. Some of the reasons for this include more males than females in roles graded J and above, which are predominantly management roles. Females are more likely to be in lower paid roles and work reduced hours in support services. Roles with opportunities to earn more are predominantly occupied by males in support services roles, and there are slower career progression routes for support service employees when compared to those in operational roles.
Thank you very much, Faye. Initial comment from me. First of all, I've seen this change over the years, and it's all going in the right direction. Just like to welcome Emily, who's joined us online and put her hand up and wishes to comment. Am I surprised? No. Emily.
Thanks, Keith. So it's a really great report. First of all, just wanted to congratulate you on how much detail is in there, and it's really interesting, the insights between the operational and service base. So for me, that raises for me a lot of questions. Given what we know, what are we going to do to address both the gender pay gap and the ethnic minority pay gap? What's sort of the action plan as a result of this data? Thanks.
Thank you, Emily. Faye or Anna would like to address that.
Okay, so there's lots of things that we're doing at the minute, just in terms of like positive engagement. So, for example, with the current recruitment that we're doing at the minute, we've done positive engagement with people over the last 8 weeks. Sorry, let me just find the information. So we had 71 people that were invited to our role-related testing, and basically what we've been doing is we've been over the last 8 weeks, we've had 13 females that we've been that have been coming in. We've put a programme together to go through all of the role-related testing, so to have a go, be able to practice it, work really well together. In terms of the role-related testing that took place on Friday, Monday and Tuesday, we had around 49 people that passed the role-related testing, and we're currently going through, because obviously that's a lot of people to kind of go forward. So what we're trying to do at the minute is really engage. When we went out for the whole time adverts, we really try to focus on females and bringing those in. We're looking at all of the recruitment processes, and we're basically just kind of looking at why they drop out, the reasons for that, what we can put in place to support them, and kind of support them with their exercises, with interview techniques and all of these things. Now, it's not just for females, it is for all of the underrepresented groups. Obviously, Faye's kind of saying about the ethnicity as well. Yeah, so that's just kind of one of the things that we're doing, Emily, just in regards to kind of bringing females into the organisation. And that's basically what we're going to be doing, is doing like a rolling programme. Because as we know, we have 306 of the operational establishment, and we are looking to recruit now in September. So we originally were going to be recruiting for people coming in May or June, but because we're slightly over our establishment, we wanted to put some more time into looking at the underrepresented groups and really supporting them in the positive engagement. I mean, a few other things that we're kind of doing as the ED&I group, for example, we're going out to events. So there's Eid in the Park coming up, so really trying to engage. We had International Women's Day as well, but we're really trying to engage with people across the service as well. So there's lots that we're doing, and you know, obviously we can kind of provide further detail in the future. Does that help?
Will you come back, Emily?
Yeah, it has helped. I think it's something that's really important for the subcommittee on people. I mean, Sade might want to take up this a little bit more in her subcommittee. I've forgotten the name of it now. And also just to say, I thought the International Women's Day event at the Blue Light Hub was fantastic. And I really look forward to that growing. There were a lot of ideas about what we could do next year. So that was really, really good. So well done on that.
Thank you for that comment. Matt?
Thank you, Chairman. Just following on from Councillor Darlington's comments on the Blue Light Hub, I thought how International Women's Day celebrations across the whole of Buckinghamshire, Milton, Keynes, was very good, starting off in Minor Gary's Patch and Princess were going on across the whole county. I think everybody involved certainly actually really was the house and
Thank you for getting the geographical input correct. Yeah, but if you don't, anyone else want to? Anders?
Thanks, Jim. I was just been trying to dig through this because I totally appreciate this is a standard format that we get this time of year, every year. It's a match data format, but it is very data dense. So trying to pick out the nuggets from it is a bit of a challenge. So it's just a couple of questions. So one, it's interesting you comment around other authorities not issuing the data behind their statements effectively. How much do you think that affects? I guess bottom line is my concern is we're 30 out of 34 in the benchmarking, which is not a position I think we should be content with. But how much is, what's your opinion in terms of where we might be out of that in that ranking if other authorities reported to the same standard as we do? Is my first question. So one at a time.
Very tricky to say how we could compare differently to other fire services if it's done differently. What we do is we do ordinary pay expressed as hourly pay is used to calculate the mean and median gender pay gap. So we use the ACAS Government Qualities Officers benchmark data. So we use prescribed way of reporting our pay, which we're very comfortable with doing. So what we look at is for those employees who do not work consistent working pattern, i.e. 37 hour week, like our support staff would do. We calculate this over to 12 weeks per guidance, which is considered better practice. We can't obviously say what other fire services do. We can only be certain in our own data.
Thank you. So I'm concerned 30 out of 34 is not good, but it's difficult when it's not apples and apples. Nevertheless, so looking at some of the more detailed data, one number you mentioned, which I think did allay some of my concerns, was that for operational staff, well, I have different concerns, but 6% of the operational staff are women. That's obviously still quite low. But at least on the operational side, the gender pay gap is reducing significantly and has done so in the last 5 years, which is good to see, albeit based on a small number. The support services is still going the wrong way, which ultimately leads me to, I guess the question is, and Anne has given a good answer to this already, But on page 43 of the report, where it talks about our plans for addressing pay gaps, it's very generic, high level comments. None of the work that's clearly happening is reflected in that. Now, that might be because it's a generic report, but certainly I would welcome some more information, because I don't think we can accept being 30 out of 34. Even if it's not an apples and apples basis, we need to be showing how we're going to change that position. There's clearly work going on. I think we should have it more front and centre for us, so we can scrutinise it and make sure that we're comfortable with it. So thank you.
And Offaly, do you want to respond to the comments that Anne's made?
No, sorry, apologies. Yeah, I mean, obviously we can come back and talk to you about further, you know, with kind of more detail about what we are doing. There are, you know, we've got our ED&I objectives, we've got the inspectorate kind of action plan. There's lots of things that are going on in the background. For example, we're doing like a pay and allowances review to make sure that we've got kind of a guidance note with all of our pay and allowances. We're looking at our support services, pay scale. So there are lots of things that are going on. I had a few things that I was going to say, but I didn't know I was getting too tenuous, if you know what I mean. So there are lots of things that are kind of going on in the background that we plan to report back on once they're complete.
Thank you. I think members of the public would rightly challenge us as members of the authority in terms of, with a headline performance, what are we doing to ensure that there is improvement? So to be able to demonstrate what's happening, we can get asked to do.
Thank you, Anders. Gary.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I'm very comfortable that Anne and the team are working very, very hard on all of this. I'm conscious of resource. They haven't got limitless resources. So yeah, I'm very, very comfortable with the resource that we have got. We're putting it into all of this area and doing the best we possibly can.
Chair, just comment.
Of course you can.
Thank you, Gary. We looked at an ED&I officer, and you can see that was signed off to the very pleased. So we're literally just about to advertise for the people and culture officer. So we've looked really carefully at what that role will do. And obviously a lot of it is really embedding ED&I across the organisation, going out, training, scrutinising everything that we've got at the minute, and it's quite a substantial role profile, and we're really looking forward to having a really good person coming in. Had support from Natalie from Bucks Council to help write that, because she's an ED&I specialist. So we wanted to make sure that actually she could write the role profile. We looked at what we wanted and had some really good input from people externally and internally. So we're really hoping to, you know, as I say, it's imminently about to be advertised, and we're putting it out to lots of different organisations. So the Asian Fire Service Association, the Employers Network for Equality and Inclusion, South East Employers, Women in the Fire Service. There's one other, but it's gone out of my head. So just to really make sure that we get as many good candidates as possible. And Natalie is going to be interviewing with me on that as well, so that we get somebody else to scrutinise the candidates that we have. So I'm really excited about that role to support all the work that's happened to date and all the work. So thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Charlotte, you've got to get hand raised to contribute.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry, my voice is not very good. I think Anne has actually alluded to some of the points I wanted to make so that we can reassure, everybody and the public on what is going on. And I attend meetings with the EDI officers and employees come there. And I'm very comfortable with the work that is going on and the support that is being given on the minority groups, looking at the pay gap and the rates. We've had lengthy discussions since I started working with Anne on this. And so I do appreciate, the sensitivity around it, and that's been explained, but there is ample work going on to make sure that people are well represented and that the pay is as it should be. So I'm just wanting to put that across to the public as well, that a lot of work is going on in the background, with the EDI team, the Bucks Council partnership with support, looking to get an EDI officer so that we can pull a lot of things together, particularly in line with the report that we've had recently. So, we are doing a good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Shadi, and I hope your voice and you get better. Thank you for your contribution. Any other comments from members? Okay, I'd endorse what's been said about the quality of the report. Thank you very much for all the work gone into it. I'm conscious of what work is going on. I think we need the two aspects to me, one of which is our current workforce, how we change cultures that we need to do therein. But then the other bit, which probably more difficult, is recruiting to get a different mix of ethnicity and gender. So keep going with one, keep going with the other, and hope they come together. I guess we're working with the National Fire Chiefs Council on, because it's not something that it's unique to Bucks. Every fire service, but we have been saying to you about gender, recruitment and ethnicity.
Yes, I mean, they are similar issues that others are experiencing. I met with Paul Illman from the National Fire Chiefs Council yesterday. So basically he leads on fire standards, and he was talking about the fire standards that we have in place, from coming in and working with the organisation to really scrutinise. He did say, and when I showed him all the work that's happened across the organisation in terms of fire standards, he said he was really impressed with the amount of work that has happened to date. So the specific fire standards that I was looking at were kind of in relation to workforce planning and refreshing the workforce planning in terms of reference and what that looks like and how that relates to some of the NFCC toolkits for the maturity models and the fire standards. So he was talking about coming in and doing some work with the senior management team and then the people that sit on the workforce planning group, just to really reinforce what we're doing. So yes, we have 300 operational, 306 operational employees, but for us next, when we recruit next, it's really about making sure that we're reflective of our community and that we are getting out into those communities to understand kind of what the barriers are. So certainly with the role-related testing, the positive engagement that I talked about, and various other methods that we've put in, fixed ladders, we've been scrutinising how we recruit and how that could potentially be discriminatory to certain groups. So we're really, every time we recruit, we're learning and taking that into the next. Watch this space. So I'm really looking forward to kind of talking about the next plans. Okay.
Okay, and following on, I think the point about the ED&I officer, great decision. Like taking time before we start recruiting to get the right person for the role, and the support from Buckinghamshire Council is much appreciated. In terms of the International Women's Day, I didn't quite make it down to Princess Risborough back to Wales, but I did see it. It's a by hub. It was spectacular in some ways. Great to see the police, fire, and SCAS get together in the mess area, chatting away. Except for the cakes, I think, which were great on display. Great opportunity for photographs, and the camaraderie across the three services was very good. And the other thing that I did on Sunday, there was a recruitment exercise at Blue Light Hub for all three services. I called in for about an hour and a half. And if I sat in with Paul Henderson and Ollie Finch for about an hour watching the people came to see them, there's definitely a couple that who, if they progress, would help greatly in gender and the ethnicity score, because they seem very keen. And thanks to the officers for Sunday. It was well attended. As I said, there's probably 200 people gone through there, and the sidelines there. So a great event, and which shows that we are actually very active, along with the other services trying to recruit at this time. So without any other comments, can I move the recommendations? That the contents of the Gender Pay Gap Report 2023 is noted and approved for a submission to the government website as per reporting requirements, and the Ethnicity Pay Gap 2023 as detailed in Appendix 4 is noted. Please, thank you very much. Moving on to item 5, now item 6, performance management. Usually the chair would introduce this. It's a standard paper, so I'm going to hand straight over to Craig to make a few comments on item questions.
Good morning, and thank you. Yeah, so the usual paper, I won't go into too much detail. The highlighted measures and the quarter 3 are more of a positive story. So there's only 2 this time with our actual establishment now in the blue, so we're above where we should be, and our appraisal completion being at 92%, which is the best we've had on record at Buckinghamshire. I know I could talk for hours on these measures, but I know there's normally lots of questions, so I'll open up to the floor for the questions.
Members, any questions? That's
Thank you, Chairman. I know that our normal chairman would have lots of questions, so I don't want to give Craig too much of a quiet time. Craig, talking about page also response 2.01 availability of whole time. Obviously, establishment headcount has risen significantly, and you are forecasting an improvement in these numbers in the next quarter. But obviously, with the investment that has been made, have you had a chance to look at sort of in particular January, February figures as we're heading towards the end of March? And are the numbers looking like they're going to be going in the right direction on this metric?
So the advantage of being in March now is yes, we have. And I'm delighted to say that actually, yeah, it's fantastic. So our availability of our whole time plants is now in the blue, so it's skip green, which is blue. So it's above 99%, both January and February. So yeah, it's really positive. And the other one we measure is our models, so how many plants available first thing, and that's a solid 12, which we've never seen. So it's all positive.
Excellent. Well done. We'll proceed to involved in that. But as we said, I should be able to focus on the good ones. We focus on the bad metrics that aren't particularly going as well. GP 1.05, our absent rate in the whole time for December was pretty bad. I just wondered if there was a particular reason for that spike. GP 1.05.
So I'll pick that up. So while it looks bad, it's because the way we calculate our KPI on this one is we took the average amount of sickness across the sector, but in the notes we say that we actually took it pre-COVID, because so we tried to be more fair. And December and January, the winter seasons, we tend to get more, so it could be a bit more about the target more than the actual. So while it goes up, it is in line with what normally happens. So it's just the target is spread evenly across the service. As it stands, we are one of the best services when it comes to absence. So we get a report that benchmarks us for the Cleveland report across all the different services, and we sit really well on that. So as much as it is red, I'm not concerned.
But just to complement what Craig said there, we had the Health, Safety and Wellbeing Committee meeting last week that Councillor Hall attended, and we had a much greater breakdown of our attendance figures, and at the moment, we're running out days lost in total lower than we have been for a long time, and that's with more people. And so actually, it's an even better figure than it actually sees on the paper. So we're really comfortable with that. And we scrutinise those quite closely through that committee, and all of the trends are going in the right direction.
That's excellent. Thank you very much. One final question, if that's okay, Chairman. GP 1.09, mandatory e-learning completed. It's been read for 3 periods now, for both whole time and support. I wonder what measures we're taking to improve that.
I'll take that. So yes, that is an unfortunate number. It's something that, and the beauty of this report is it raises flags like this. So already there's now plans in place to improve it, especially for next year going forward. So at the moment, it's normally heads down to the managers to manage their own departments and ensure that e-learning is done. That's kind of not being taken away, but we're going to support them. So there'll be monthly reports sent to each manager showing them where they're sitting, where each of their staff, how they're achieving. Especially, it also boosts our ED&I as well. So some of the mandatory is ED&I, so we're very focused on that. So we'll then break down as well which ones they haven't done, even though they should all do it. And also this covers everyone, and as much as it should be much higher, there are also some people not in a position to do the mandatory as well. So we'll try and get a bit smarter with that with the managers as well. But there's a much better plan. So almost like what we did with the appraisals, we saw the appraisals go up, they're taking the same routine with the e-learning.
So supplementary before I decline the question to you, others. On the that e-learning in relation to the appraisals, are the appraisals also including have you done your e-learning? Is there an impact of more appraisals should be increasing e-learning to people saying, right, you've done this well, you haven't done that? Do you think there was a correlation?
And I'm honestly not sure. Maybe a little bit, but I wouldn't like to. I wouldn't like to guess.
I would suggest there ought to be.
Yeah.
Okay, Anders and then Gary.
Thanks, Chairman. Just in passing, I just want to pick up on the number of false alarms, which is always kind of interesting, particularly non-domestic. I know we recently.
Anders, can you give us just the
So PL 2.07. I just wanted to highlight for the record that non-domestic property false alarms over the last 6 months are up 17%. I know we did introduce a new policy dealing with non-domestic property false alarms not that long ago. Is there any change in that number for the first 3 months of this year that you can see coming through? Is one question. And then the other one, again, just trying to update the information we've got in front of us, is the one below PL 2.08 fire safety audits. We significantly increased our target starting in October. The number of audits that we do. We have effectively doubled the number of audits that we undertake, which is really good. But obviously we're still quite a way behind that new target. How's that looking coming into the first quarter of this year?
Okay, so I'll take the first one, which is non-domestic property alarms. January and February are both amber as well. However, I'm aware the group is going to have a bigger discussion on AFAs, automatic fire alarms, in post this. So I'm happy. We will probably discuss it at length then. So if you're happy, we'll pick that there. As for the visits, do you want to pick that down?
Yeah, I'll pick up around the protection targets. So we did put in place quite a significant shift, I suppose, around our expectations of our audit numbers. A lot of that came off the back of the HMI report, our action plan, identification really that risk-based inspection needed to be front and centre of our protection activity. So it was probably a stretched target, but one that I still think is achievable. I think we had an understanding that there would be a period of time where we would need to adjust ways of working within the teams, redirection. There's elements of other actions within the action plan that will support us increasing capacity within the team. So some of the more administrative process bits that are still playing through. Positively, as you know, we have seen an improvement, double Q3, sorry, was double that of Q2 and Q1. Q4 currently, we're now at 145, sort of 2/3 of the way through March. So again, it will be an improvement on Q3. It won't get us to our 249. So I've got a workshop with the team this afternoon, actually, and we'll start sort of working through some of that. But for now, I remain optimistic that we're making some positive progress, but note that we still have some work to do when we meet our risk-based inspection programme.
Thank you. I think for me, is the fact that it's going to take a period of time to get to the target we've set, but it's a journey of continuous improvement so far, which is really good to see. Thank you.
Gary.
Thank you, Chairman. Just on page 129 on the bank sheet costs, it's encouraging to see those costs coming down month on month. I'm just guessing that January, February, March, we're going to see that even lower. On the downside of that, that means firefighters' wages are not going to be as good in some cases when they're used to having bank shifts to supplement their income. Is there a knock-on effect there with retention that we might see further down the line, or are there other opportunities for firefighters to do overtime and supplement their basic salaries? I'm happy to
take some of that. I know Mark's probably got the latest figures on bank on asset base, and you're absolutely right. It's a real downward trajectory around the numbers of bank shifts used, and I'm sure Asset can give you the number in a minute if he's got it to hand. I don't think it was spot Asset. With regard to the other piece, Gary, you're correct. There are less bank shifts available for firefighters, but we were struggling to fill them anyway. Okay. Which is why we were down to 10s and 11s sometimes. So we are still using bank, but not to the degree that we were. And as I say, we couldn't fill all of those shifts. With regard to retention, we haven't seen a huge sort of an exodus of staff, just 1s and 2s maybe, and there were people that were probably already going to go to London Fire Brigade, for instance, when they opened their doors. But London did a huge recruitment campaign before Christmas. We didn't lose any. So we haven't seen that correlation yet, but you're absolutely right to raise it, and we'll keep a very, very close eye on that. But with regard to other opportunities to earn money, we're looking at things, especially around prevention in that area, around, meeting our home fire safety check targets, and there are other ways we can deliver that using our staff in a different way as well. So they're all things that we're being considered as we go forward within that whole pay sort of budget arena.
Yeah, good.
I think that's it. Sorry to be honest, Mark.
That's fine, thank you. You're exactly right. We have seen a significant reduction. We're looking in the region of around 10K for January. Just to put it in perspective, this time last year in January, the bank cost was in the region of around 85K. So that is a sharp drop, and you should also be aware of taking recently in that as well. We have seen a significant drop, and it's all down to the consumption increasing to over 300, which is a positive result all round. But we do take your point around opportunities lost all the time. It's like overall an organisation in terms of response. I think it's great that we've got funds available for businesses and
I was just going to say before Anne comes in, excellent, absolutely fantastic figures there, and that's what we all want to see, and yeah, really, really pleased with it.
Thank you. Is that okay, Chairman? Yeah, it was just to say that we with our workforce planning, we used to start off with, we were looking at 3 leavers a month, and then we looked at 2, and then we looked at 1, and obviously we thought as we as far out as we can to look for kind of retirements and everything. So that's happening on a regular basis. It was 3 leavers a month. It's now down to kind of one leaver a month. So when we forecast where we thought we were going to be with the establishment numbers, there have been real changes, real kind of positive changes. People have made a decision, to stay with us, not to leave, as Nick said, when we thought that they would be. And then the other bit was, I think what I was saying earlier was just in regards to Anna's question about the work that we're doing on paying allowances as well. So really trying to make sure that every paying allowance that we have, we've actually got criteria for it. Who's it paid to? For what reason? When does it start? When does it stop? Is it pensionable? So we're putting that into the document just to make sure that that's in place.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. And just in relation to the whole availability piece, just kind of hot off the press, some good news is that just this week we have promoted 3 crew commanders at on-call stations, 2 at Risborough and 1 at Cheshire, which is helpful. And they've all passed them into the command level 1s as well. 7 whole-time crew and watch commanders across the organisation as well, which will again help with availability. So I think if you recall, a couple of meetings ago we were reporting that even though we had the numbers, it was a skills gap. Yeah. So we've got, as I say, 7 new supervisory managers whole-time across the whole teams, 3 on call, and we've got 4 more that are going on an instant command level 1 course next month. So it's a real positive picture over the last couple of weeks. It will again help with our whole availability, not just the whole-time.
So following on from that, Nick, how about the drivers? How are we getting on with getting the drivers up?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. So now that we've got the numbers in the system, that's really, really good and really helping. But we're working through on a granular level where those specific skills need to be. And we've got it right down to watch level now. We're able to forecast out where we can allocate training courses, particularly for driving. As we mentioned before, it's quite a long pipeline to get people from application stage all the way through to being an emergency response driver. Some elements of that don't have any influence over. We can't change that 6-month period when people need to sort of embed those basic driving skills before they can take on that emergency response course. So what we're doing is we've kind of rearranged the training program to front load as many people as we can into that pipeline. We're getting loads of people applying for it now, which is really good because they've never been outspoken to staff about it and the need for those drivers, and they're responding really well. So it's probably a kind of a 12-month, 18-month plan to get those numbers up. But what I'm reassured that is that we've got a really good pipeline. And secondly, as Mick said around the crew commander piece, we've got those additional posts that have been put in thanks to the investment that the authority put forward. So we've got 12 more crew commander positions into the establishment from April 1st. That has a double impact because it frees up drivers as well, because you can only conduct one role at a time. So we'll have more crew commanders to be able to take lead and that sort of thing. So it's all going in the right direction. So
Thank you very much. All questions, comments from Sade or Emily online? Have you got any questions or comments you want to make, please?
I'm okay, Keith, thanks.
Okay. Right, I've got a couple of questions. So the chairman probably got more. And first one is on page 110 or 24, R103. The number of affecting entry issues is going up quite significantly. Any comments to what's the cause of scouts needing to get access? Is it people who are having episodes of mental health or accidents? You know the reason behind it?
Honestly, no. We don't record the medical reason why we're there. Our job is to get them in. Normally, sometimes we assist while we're in there, if we're required, but the main effort is just to enable the paramedics to get into the casualty. So it's something I know the Home Office are currently looking at how they record this and to capture more data to understand it better, but as the way we capture data at the moment. No.
Okay, great. It's obviously worrying overall. Why?
Yeah, just to support what Craig's just said, we are carrying out a review with the Thames Valley as well, because that's a part of the collaboration piece. Because obviously we effect entry on behalf of Thames Valley Police, who get called by South Central Ambulance, so it's kind of like a three-way approach. We are currently reviewing that as a piece of work to look at sort of how we take that forward and what that looks like across the whole Thames Valley. So it is something we have got our eye on.
Okay, thank you. Page 115/29, R3.02, hydrant availability. I'm somewhat shocked when you don't know, we haven't taken notes of any of the hydrants we've been checked, and does that actually have any impact if trucks go out and find the hydrant isn't working?
So I reassure you that the hydrants are available and they're there. The problem, there's two parts of this. The first part is it's a very specialised area where we have one person in charge of the team. That one person, unfortunately, has been on long-term sick. They recently returned, so that's the positive news. The other positive news is that actually we're replacing the software that keeps that information. So that's literally being implemented as we speak. So I'm confident we'll have something in the next quarter. Reporting.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you again, Craig, for performance management report for Q3 and members for their questions. We've done. Page 83. Right. So yes, members, are we noting the report for Q3 23/24? Agreed. Please, these papers are only about 120 pages from the meeting last night. Delegated season 578 pages. Start checking. It's unusual, as you know. So now we're moving to the item 8, which is the exclusion of the public and the press. And to consider excluding public and press representatives from the meeting by virtue of paragraph 1 of part 1 of schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. As the report contains information related to any individual, paragraph 3 of part 1 of schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. As the report contains information related to the financial or business affairs of a person, including the authority. And on these grounds, consider the need to keep information then outweighs the public interest in disclosing this information. Are we agreed? Agree. I'd now like to invite all the officers apart from the Chief Fire Officer, the Finance Director, the Deputy Chief Fire Officer, and the 2 representatives of Democratic Services. Thank you very much for attending, everybody.